Hello everybody, and welcome to another Fundamental Games game playthrough. Today we're going to play a game of WarRift. So WarRift, if we take a look at it, it's actually live on Kickstarter right now. Today is August 13th. And in WarRift, you are playing as a deck builder. You're going to summon a guild, slay monsters, and try to take the throne. It's a competitive, cooperative tabletop deck building game with a focus on player interaction, where guilds compete and slay monsters to take the throne. And it's got a few new mechanics that are different to the genre, like each player having their own signature guild instead of everybody getting cards from the same spot. So there's 4 specific guilds in this game. And if players don't pay an extra summoning cost that's on a card, other players actually get the potential to have those cards for a one-time use. There's bosses, there's a solo format, there's all kinds of different elements, so that helps create a completely unique deck building experience that you might enjoy if you check it out on Kickstarter. So today I'm not going to play through a full game, but I am going to show you some highlights of what this game has to offer, and basically I'll play through a certain number of turns and we'll see how the game goes. I don't want the video to take too long. So first off, I already did a small setup video. If you want to watch that, that's in my YouTube channel, and I've already got the game set up for 2 players. I'm going to play with player 1 here at the bottom and player 2 here at the top, just facing us for simplicity. So how does the game work? Well, I've got it right here in the rule book here, just to make sure we know the turns here. So at the start step, I put a monster into play from the top of the monster deck. So I'm going to take a monster here and it's going to go into the maw. And that gets flipped over right away. This creature is going to be impactful to all players. Once I've done that, then I will play cards from my hand. I can play a card by putting into play and resolving any card effects. Playing cards is completely free. So if we look at my hand, I have a warrior, a mage, and when your starting deck is only 7 mages and 3 warriors. And you'll see on the top left they have combat and then they have points. So if we put these into play, into my play area for example, I've got 2 warriors and 3 wizards. So let's take a look at the rules here. It's a smart idea to play all your cards even if you're not going to use them, because you'll get a full hand at the end of the turn. Kind of like Dominion that way, but there may be cards that you want to reserve in your hand for future use. When you play a card that is not in your guild color, which we don't have, it would go into that guild player's discard pile. So if you want to slay a monster, you have to have an amount of combat equal to that creature's combat. So if you see on the bottom right, a dragonling has 3 combat, and I only have 2 combat for my warrior, so I cannot defeat that dragonling this turn. But that's okay, it's still early in the game. Now, and it doesn't build up over time, so I can't do 2 damage to it now and then a damage to it next round. Has to all be at once, or with multiple cards. Alright, so that's attacking creatures, and if I were to defeat that creature, I would gain a victory point. So I would gain 1 victory point. And the purpose of this game is to get to 20 victory points by defeating creatures or other cards that may give you those points. Alright. So the other thing you can do is summon cards from your guild selection with the magicka you've obtained from your cards. So magicka is this value in the top left. Your mages, go figure, produce magicka, and your warriors produce combat values. So with 3 magicka, I could purchase something that has a 3 value on the bottom right hand side of the card. I'll just make sure I'm reading that correctly. So equal to the card's magicka cost. When you summon a card, you put it into the rift unless you paid 2 extra, in which case it would go directly into your discard pile. And that's different than most deck builders. Most deck builders, when you pay for a card, it goes into your discard pile. In this case, it goes into the rift, and at the end of a round, any cards in the rift are randomly distributed to the players. So we can see here I could purchase that for 4, for 4, or for 3. So if I wanted to, I could spend my 3 and use that to purchase this card, but again it goes into the rift. It doesn't go into my discard pile right now because I didn't pay the extra 2. Alright. Player has no cards in the rift. They're not dealt any rift cards. Players lose all unspent magicka and attack. Put all cards played into their discard pile. So I would take all these cards, group them together now that I've played them, and they go into my discard pile. And remove all damage from all monsters. We didn't do any. Draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. So I would take from my deck here. Just close this for a sec. Put my hand over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this will be my new hand. And again, it's just wizards and warriors at the beginning. At the end of your turn, you draw cards till you have 5 in your hand. Discard pile becoming the deck. You shuffle your discard pile if you run out of cards and have to draw a card, so I don't shuffle it right now. Alright. Now I just got to read one other thing here. As soon as you summon a card, you have to refresh it. Okay. So I have to refresh that guild selection for my deck. So you're always going to have 3 cards available for your guild selection. You see this power spot here? This was for some cards that are available in the game. I've chosen not to play with them for this preview, but there are cards that you can choose that will have a specific impact one time in the game. So just for simplicity's sake, I'm not using these one-time effects right now, but they are part of the game. Alright, and then slain monsters, if I did defeat that creature, it would go here into my victory pool, and there's probably cards that impact that as well. So that would be the end of my turn. Then we would go forth to player 2's turn. So player 2 has 5 cards in hand. They have 1 warrior and 4 wizards. So they can't do any, oh wait, at the beginning of their turn, they put a creature into the maw. So that creature has 8, and it has Death Crash. You may consume up to 3 cards in your pile. So when that thing dies, if you kill it, you can use its power there. And that one's worth 4 victory points. So, whereas the Dragonling's only worth 1. So that guy's pretty tough. Anyway, so then if I look at my guild, what can I purchase this turn? I could purchase the Sunstrike Raiders for 4, or the Champion of Azael, or I could buy a Scout and put it right into my pile. So instead of buying one of these and randomly losing it, I could spend 1 and spend 2 extra to buy this and put it right into my discard pile. Then I know I'm going to get it sooner than later. So we're going to do that this turn. We're going to spend the extra 1, so I've spent 3 magicka to buy this card and get it right away instead of it going into the rift. So now that we've both had our turns, let's take a look at what happens. Alright, so at the end of a rotation, the player who went first, in this place I ended up having the bottom player go first, they're going to shuffle the rift cards face down and deal them out to players counterclockwise, dealing himself or herself last. So in this regard, I would flip these over. If I purchased multiple cards, I would shuffle them together. There's only 1 card, so we already know the 1 card, and it's going to deal it to the dealer last. So it's going to go into this player's discard pile. So this player is going to get to use this card once in their game. Oh, sorry, I didn't do the other effect. So this player should have 5 new cards in their hand. But that doesn't really change anything right now. Alright. Alright, so that player gets that card, and then do not look or peek at them. This is cheating. So if there were 5 cards in there, for example, you would shuffle them up and distribute them upside down, and then they would put them in their discard pile. Oh, sorry, each player takes their rift cards and puts them face down on top of their deck. I misread that. So this card, this card here that came from the rift would go on top of this player's deck. And that's why it's important not to shuffle your deck until absolutely necessary. So this player would have already drawn their cards. Now they have 1 card in their deck, which is the card they got from the rift. Alright. So that's the end of the rotation. And then we go back up to the beginning of the round. And players take their turns in a clockwise order. Alright. There we go. I'm just going to check one thing. It's not mentioned here, but I think I read about it somewhere else, so bear with me. Alright. Each player looks at the top card. Alright, so I think that's the end of the round, and it looks like this player will always be going first, which means that Rift is always going to affect them negatively, and they have to be more cautious about how they decide to spend their points. Alright, so now it's this player's turn again, bottom player. Let's go with the names of these guys. So Nightfang versus Soulguard. So Nightfang gets to go. When Nightfang goes, the first thing they have to do is deal a card from the monster deck. And one thing to remember is in this Maw, if we ever have the monster limit, which I'm saying is 12 right now, if we ever meet the monster limit, then that player immediately dies. So that player has to be cautious and know that eventually these creatures have to be defeated. Okay, so that player draws a monster card, puts it face up into the maw. We've revealed a giant blood bat, which is a 5 combat, and that's a bronze card worth 2. That's a silver card worth 1. Oh, that's a basic card worth 1. Okay, so we have no ability to. We've got just 1 warrior, so we don't have enough to kill anything. But we've got 4 magicka. So for 4 magicka, we could spend 3 to get the Shadowcaster, and that guy creates 3 magicka when he's played, so that's pretty decent. This guy costs 4 and is worth 2 combat. When you summon this card, play it. So he would get 2 combat right away if he summoned that guy. And then this one says draw the bottom 2 cards of your deck. So I pay 4, put it into the Rift, and when you get it later on, you get to draw extra cards. So I think in this case, it makes sense to spend my 4 magicka on this guy, and because I summoned him, I get to play it right away, which avoids him from going to the Rift and avoids my opponent from getting it, because any cards you play go into the guild's discard pile. So I play this, and that gives me 2 combat. I already had 1 combat, so with 3 combat, I can take down this Dragonling and get the first point of the game. So I'll throw that there. I get a Valor point. Oh, I forgot to replace my guild selection. I don't have any magicka left over because that guy costs 4. So I'll take, this will be the end of my turn, take all my cards, put them into my discard pile. Then, because I don't have a discard pile, or a draw pile, I flip over my discard pile, shuffle it up, and then I'll draw my 5 cards again. Oops, I think I must have a magnet on there. Whoops. Oopsie. Okay. There we go. So this will be his new hand for the next round. Then we go back to this player. They're going to draw a monster card, put it into play. We have a Maw-born Spectre worth 4 combat and 2 Valor points. This player was supposed to replace their guild selection last turn. Now they, oopsie. So this will be their hand. So they have 2 combat and 3 magicka. For 3 magicka, they can buy a Court Wizard or a Champion of Azael. Now, knowing that they will get dealt cards from the Rift first, they know they don't even have to pay extra because they're probably going to get that card. But first off, for combat, you don't have to do it in this order, but I think looking at combat is good first. So I can't do anything with my combat cards. All I can do is purchase a card for 3. Slay up to 3 iron monsters, or you may consume a card in your discard pile. Consuming is basically a word for exiling or getting rid of a card permanently and putting it into the necropolis. Because there may be cards that you don't want in your deck later in the game and you want to get to your better cards first. So I'm going to spend 3 to go for the Champion of Azael. That'll go into the Rift when I pay for it. Then all my cards get grouped together. I'll do my guild replacement first. I don't have any magicka left because I only had 3 magicka, so that goes into my discard pile. And then at the end of the turn, I draw 5 cards. So I'll draw my first card. Then I don't have a deck left, so I'll flip it over, shuffle it, and draw 4 more cards. There we go. Oops. And again, these cards would all be hidden from your opponent's view, so they're not going to know what you have. This is just for you guys to see. Alright, so that's the end of this player's turn. Then we go to the end of round phase. We would flip over cards in the rift. We'd shuffle them up if we had more than one. And then we would deal the cards to the player who did not go first. And it goes on top of their deck. Alright. And then we go to the next round. So this player is going first. They have to draw a card from the monster deck. They found an imp. Then they can perform their actions. They have 2 combat and 3 magicka. For 3 magicka, all they can buy is a Shadowcaster or a Bloodlust Neophyte. So the Neophyte will give me a magicka and a combat when I play it later in the game, whereas the Shadowcaster gives me 3 magicka. So this player is going to spend their 3 magicka. They're going to spend 1 plus 2 extra to put this card directly into their discard pile so that it doesn't go to the rift. And then they'll spend their 2 combat and destroy the imp. So when they destroy the imp for 2 combat, they consume the bottom card of their deck. So what I have to do is flip over my deck, take the bottom card, and throw it into the necropolis. It's gone for good. Alright, and then the imp will go into my victory pile, and I will get 1 point for defeating that iron creature. All these cards will get grouped together and go into my discard pile. I'll replace my guild selection, and then I will draw my 5 cards. Alright. And then it will go to this player's turn. They will draw a monster card. Ooh, Shadow Shriek. That guy's tough. 8. Then they will look at their hand. You can consume a card in your discard pile when you play this. There's no cards in their discard pile, so you can play that anyway. So that's worth 2 magicka, 3, 4, 5 magicka. So for 5 magicka, you could buy Sunstrike Raiders. Got 2 of those, so we're just going to buy Sunstrike Raiders, put it into the rift. And we also have just 1 combat. So for 1 combat, nothing I can destroy. So I will take all my cards, put them in my discard pile. I should have replaced my guild selection already. Draw 5 cards. Flip over my hand. And then the card is in the rift at the end of the round. Flip over, shuffle, go on top of the player's deck. So it'll go on top of this player's deck. But one thing I neglected to do was this goes into this player's discard pile now. So even though this guy summoned it, that player got to use it before it went to this player's discard pile. Okay, so Soul Guard has done their turn. We already did the Rift thing. So now we're back to Nightfang's turn. So Nightfang's turn, they have a Breakneck Battler. When you summon this card, play it. That was already done. So that's, oh, first we put a monster card in play. A Grimwood. That looks pretty cool. That has Death Crash as well. Alright, so I have 2 combat. I don't have enough to destroy anything up here. So I'm going to want to get cards that create combat soon before those monsters get out of control. And I have 4 magicka. So 4 magicka. Ooh, that guy's huge. Too bad I can't afford them. Make a Bloodlust Neophyte or a Vigilant Sentinel. So we're going to make the Vigilant Sentinel. And then take all these cards. Put them in my discard pile. I don't have a deck. Yeah, okay. Flip over my deck, shuffle it, draw 5 cards. Alright, and then we go over to this player's turn. They reveal a monster. An Ancient Dragon. That guy's tough. They look at their hand. So they could slay up to 3 iron monsters without paying their cost. So that's where you have to look at the icons. We have silver, we have bronze, we have gold, we have silver, we have bronze, and we have 1 iron guy. So if I play this combat card, I can slay this guy without paying the combat cost. So I can just slay him. When that guy's slayed, each player must consume a card in their discard pile. So I'm going to get my 1 point, and then in my discard pile, I will put one thing into the necropolis. You get to choose, but I'm just going to take that card. And then this player has to do the same thing. They have to look in their discard pile. If they don't have one, so they don't get to consume a card. And then, so that was a free kill. If there was something that had 2 combat, I could still slay that, but there's not. So can't do anything else with combat. I do have 3 magicka I can spend. So we can spend it on a court wizard. We'll do that. That will go into the rift. I'll replace my guild card. I will take all these cards, put them into my discard pile, draw my 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shuffle my discard pile, turn it into my deck. Draw my 5 cards. Alright, then we go to the end of turn phase. End of turn phase, these get grouped together, flipped over, shuffle them up, and they randomly go on top of players' decks without seeing what they are. So now you can see how that shuffling works. We could have gotten each other's guild card, we could have gotten our own guild card. We really don't know until we do our next draw phase. And we're back to Night Fang's turn. All they have is 5 magicka. So they'll play their 5 magicka, and they can purchase Rothaga, the Doom Howler, or one of these 2. We're going to purchase Rothaga because we can. And all these cards go into my discard pile, and my turn is over. I can't defeat a creature. Oh, I forgot to play a creature. We go back to Soulguard. They play a creature. We have a Mawborn Spectre. The Maw is filling up. And so what are they going to do on their turn? Well, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so they can play the Scout for a combat, and then they draw a card. You can play that. If you would refresh this card, put it on the bottom of your deck instead. So I will have to read what is refresh. So I'm not certain what refresh is, but I'll have to look into that for future plays. Anyway, so we have a total of 3, 4, 5 combat. So now we want to make sure we start killing monsters. There's getting to be too many on the board here. So for 5 combat, we could kill a giant bloodbat. Probably the best thing to do. Can't kill anything else. So we kill a giant bloodbat, and we get 2 victory points. So that's all taken care of. And then we have Court Wizard. When I play the Court Wizard, I may consume a card in my discard pile. I don't have to. I don't have one in there anyway. So that was 2, 3, and 4. I can purchase something worth 4, or I can buy a 2 card and spend 2 extra to put it right on top into my discard pile. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to spend the 2 extra, put that into my discard pile. And that way I know for sure I'm going to get this card at the end of the round, because I know I get dealt that card. So that's kind of a strategy you can look at when you want to purchase cards, or when you want to spend the extra to get it right on your discard pile. So I draw my cards, and then the cards from the rift get flipped upside down, shuffled, and dealt out, always to the player who didn't go first. This player was supposed to draw 5 cards already. Alright. So that was that player's turn. We go back to Night Fang. Got to draw a monster card. Then get to do our actions. So we have 2 combat. What do we have in here? Nothing that'll play automatically. So for 2 combats, can I kill anything? No, I cannot. So that card ends up useless. What might still end up useful actually, because when I play this, I draw the bottom 2 cards of my deck. So I'll draw that and draw that, flip that back over, so I actually can get up to 3 combat. So I can destroy the Grimwood. When I destroy the Grimwood, I get 1 point, and each player may consume a card in their discard pile. So I'm going to consume this guy here. And then this player can do the same. They can consume a card in their discard pile. and they're going to consume a mage. Alright. So that was combat. We still have the rest of these cards to play. You may consume a card in your discard pile again, so he could destroy another mage if he wanted to. Not sure that's the best move, but he's going to anyway. And we play these other ones. So for total magicka, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 magicka. So for 7 magicka, what could I buy? I could buy a Duskfall Butcher and gain it right away. Or I could, so that would cost 6. So I could buy this and spend the extra 2, put it right into my pile. So I have 1 magicka remaining, and I could use that magicka to make this and put it into the rift. And all of these cards get grouped together, put into my discard pile. Shuffle, flip, that's my new draw pile. Draw my 5 cards. Alright, and that's the end of this player's turn. Okay, so that's in the rift right now. And we go back to Soul Guard, they draw a monster, a Doom Demon, and they have slay up to 3 iron monsters, and they have 2 combat total. So for 2 combat, nothing I can destroy, but if there was an iron monster, which there's not, I could have destroyed it for free. So my combat is pretty weak this turn. I have 3 mage, 3 magicka. I'm going to spend my 3 magicka and make a court wizard again. Replace that. Put all my cards into my discard pile. And draw my 5 cards. 1, 2, 3. Flip that over. Shuffle it. There we go. So we're getting the engine started here. Any good deck builder can call out the bad cards and start to build an engine of combat or engine of searching or whatever. There's lots of things you can do in deck builders, and I can see the potential happening here. So we'll shuffle these up. First we deal out to this player, goes on top of their deck. Then we deal out to Night Fang, goes on top of their deck. And then we go to Night Fang's turn. Night Fang has to play a monster. And then they look at their cards and decide what they're going to do. So we've got 2, 3 combat. Could consume a card in my discard pile. I don't have a discard pile. We have 4 magicka and 3 combat. So for 3 combat, really struggling with finding creatures to kill, so cannot kill anything. And 4 magicka. 4 magicka. We're going to make another Vigilant Sentinel. Group my cards together, and they will go into my discard pile. I'll draw 5 new cards. And hope by calling out those mages, I'm going to have some more powerful cards sequentially. Oops. Keep pressing group instead of flip. Alright. I really should put some magnets here. Okay, so that's that player's turn. We go back to Soul Guard. Soul Guard's got can play this big bad boy. He's worth 6 combat, and you can choose 2 cards in your discard pile and put them on top of your deck. So the discard pile thing's not going to help out much unless I buy something with magicka first, but I don't have enough magicka to do that. Let's find out. We'll play that, draw a card. Maybe I'll get some more magicka. Play that, so then I have 1, 2, 3 magicka. For 3 magicka, I could buy something worth 1 and spend 2 extra to put it into my discard pile. So let's do that. So now I've spent my 3 magicka. Now when I play this guy, I can put this thing on top of my deck, because I spent the 2 extra to put it in my discard pile. Alright, so kind of using my different cards in a proper sequence can help you. So we have 1, 7, 8, 9 combat. Ooh. I don't know if I drew a monster card. I don't think I did, so I'm going to put that into play. Oh, how much combat do I have? 1, 7, 8, 9 combat. We could actually slay this thing that just came into play. Tavax the Judicator. After you draw your new hand, give an opponent 3 cards at random. Ooh, why would I want to play that? Don't play cards with a demon. Maybe I don't want to kill that one. But I do have 9 combat, so what else could I do? I could kill the Shadow Streak, or I could try to kill 2 creatures. That's for 7. I think I'm just going to spend the 8 combat to kill this guy, and that's worth 8 points right away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I take this guy goes into this player's discard pile because it's purple. Oops. Forgot to replace that earlier. And this guy goes into Night Fang's discard pile again because it's purple. So that's the only time they're going to get to play with that card, but they got it for free anyway. Take all these cards, group them together, put it into their discard pile, draw 5 cards. Alright, and we go to the end of the round. At the end of the round, this will flip over, get shuffled, go on top of this player's discard pile first, or draw deck first. And then we go back to Night Fang's turn. Now, we hit a magic number now. Because we're only playing to 20 points, once you get over 10 points, you actually draw 2 monsters per turn. So we are now up to a dangerous state for up to 10 monsters. Once 12 are in play, we hit the danger point. So this player's got some thinking to do. Play this one, Duskfall Butcher. Each opponent discards a card. So this player had to draw their cards already, now they have to discard a card. They're going to discard their single warrior because they already know they don't have enough combat coming up. Then Shadowcaster, you may consume a card in your discard pile. Oops. So they look at their discard pile, they get rid of a mage. It says may, I don't have to, but I choose to. Put those cards back. Alright. So we did the Court Wizard, do the mage, Vigilant Sentinel, draw the 2 bottom cards of your deck. And that goes into play. So play all my cards. So we have 5 combat. So for 5 combat, what could I kill? Does it make sense to kill something? See, I have no idea what's in my opponent's hand. I could assume that they couldn't kill a creature, but I wouldn't know. And hope that they die just by having 12 creatures at the end of their turn. But I wouldn't know that, so it would make more sense for me to want to gain, or to kill a card. So I'm going to kill a giant bloodbat for the 5 combat and gain 2 points. And then we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 magicka. For 7 magicka, we could spend 5 for that, and that goes right into my discard pile, leaving me with 2 magicka left. So for the other 2 magicka, I could make the Neophyte or the Mooncaller. So I'm going to spend that and make the Neophyte. If there was something for 1 more, I could still make it. So that's all I can do with this turn. Group these together, put them in my discard pile, draw my 5 cards. My deck ran out, so those new cards I bought, I might actually get to draw. Oops. 3, 4, 5. Alright, and then we go back to Soulguard's turn. So Soulguard is worried because they're going to have to draw 2 monsters. But we're not at 12 yet, so they still will survive. Oh, there's a little one guy there, a little imp. Now we have here, you can consume a card in your discard pile. We'll consume a mage again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, we're going to make General Armandas. He'll go into the Rift. At the end of the turn, flip these over, group them together, shuffle them, deal them with invisibly. This player should draw their 5 cards first. So timing is very important in this game. You don't want to do a step improperly because it'll have a big impact on the game. Alright, so Soulguard has now done their turn, and we deliver this card to the top of this player's deck. And now we're on to Night Fang's turn again. So let's read the notebook menu here for the summoning phase. Summon cards from your guild selection with, oh, no, not summoning, the monster phase. Okay, put a monster into play from the top of the monster deck. If any player has 10 or more valor points, put 2 monster. Cards. If the monster limit is surpassed at the end of a player's turn, that player is eliminated and removed from the game. So this is another winning strategy. So what happens is, we're at 12, which is the monster limit, so I can't make a 13th card. But, at least I don't think I can make a 13th card. Let's see if that's in the summon rules here. Oh, maybe I do make 2. I'm not sure if you go past the summon limit or not. We'll make the assumption that you can't go past the summon limit, but if you're at the summon limit, you're going to die at the end of the turn. So this guy's must kill a creature on his turn. So we summoned, then we look at our cards. We can play all our cards out. So we have, you may choose a card in your discard pile, put it on top of your deck. I don't have a card in my discard pile, so I might want to save that one until I use Magicka. Like, no. Got 4 Magicka. I'll just buy that card. And then we have 4 combat. So for 4 combat, we know we can kill a creature at least. So we can kill this creature and get 2 valor points. Group our cards together, flip them over. Oops, was my discard pile. Draw 5 cards. Alright, so that's the end of this player's turn. Then we go back to Soulguard's turn. Soulguard has to play at least 1 monster card, 2 if there was 2 vacancies. So again, they have to kill a creature or die. Forgot to put these in my discard pile last turn. Alright, so draw 2 cards from the bottom of your deck. Let's do that first, see what other cards we can get to our hand. Alright. Ooh, I like this one. So you play this card, opponents reveal their hands, play all warriors from all hands and discard piles. That's pretty stunning. Play all warriors from all hands. So he's going to play this warrior. Oh no, warriors, not other creatures. Okay, so warriors are just the basic one. This guy actually has no warriors. But he might have warriors in his discard pile. Nope. No warriors, they must all be sitting in the deck. And then this player plays all warriors from hands and discard piles. So he gets a free warrior there, free warrior there. It's a nice little boost. Then we've got this guy, has no special effect. This guy, slay up to 3 iron monsters. Do we have any iron monsters in play? We have 1. We have 2. So he's going to survive for sure. So we just destroy these 2 without paying their cost. So we get 2 free points. And Death Crash, consume the bottom card of your deck. He doesn't have a deck right now, so he doesn't have to suffer from that. And each player may consume a card in their discard pile. So these will go here. He will gain 2 points. This player here may consume a card from their discard pile. So they're going to consume a mage. Okay. So that was all for free. Then we still have this guy. If you would refresh this card, put it on the bottom of your deck. I'm not sure what refresh means yet. We only have 1, so I can't actually make anything with Magicka. But for combat, that's pretty steep. We have 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 combat now. So for 14 combat, what can I do? Well, some cards from your discard pile. I could spend 6 combat of my 14 to gain 2 points. And then I get to shuffle my deck and draw a card. So there we go. So I'm up to 2 magicka. So I can actually buy this card and put it in the rift. Okay, so we spent 6 out of, what do we have? 3, 4, 5, 6, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I still have another 8 combat. So I could kill the Doom Demon and get 4 more points. Or if we go back in time, now let's say I never did that. Let's say instead I had 14, I could spend 9 to get, how much was that one worth? 2 points? Oh yeah, so that would win me the game actually. So between that and killing something else, this player would be over 20 valor points and they would win the game. So this guy here really gave us a boost. Slaying the 3 iron monsters and being able to play the general, those two combined gave us a nice boost. So that would be a victory for Soul Guard versus Night Fang. Alright, so that's a full game. I wasn't sure if I'd get through one, but I decided to play through it and see how long it would take. That's not bad for 2 players. So let's take a quick reflection of this game. So WarRift. So first part is you get all these player boards included with the game. I think they're made out of a paper material, but they are a high quality finish and some nice artwork on them. So those are kind of neat. They really help you segregate your guild selections, your discard power. Not necessarily required to play the game, but they do help you organize your piles. I like the fact that each player has their own unique deck to play with, so it's kind of predetermined. Some of the there we go. So each deck has its own kind of different play styles that it might enjoy. Kind of need first-person camera. Sorry about that. My scroll wheel is not working. So I like the 4 independent decks. So each player has their own unique ways of playing and interacting with their cards. But the cool mechanic is that you might actually get to borrow from each deck temporarily before they go back to the other player's cards. So that was kind of neat thing about it as well. And the artwork of the game is kind of neat. You've got lycanthropes, you've got the Soul Guard deck, you've got the decks I didn't show you here, which are the wizard deck, and you've got the kind of the necromancy deck or undead deck. So lots of cool artwork, and it's all in the same style, so you're getting a very consistent images and artwork throughout the game. The magicka is really easy to see, the combat's really easy to see, so once you're used to the rules you know where to look on the card. The colors of the cards are easy enough to identify, so I think in terms of game design of the cards, it really represents itself well, and you can figure out how to play relatively easy. So cool first game, and I think it's worth checking out on the Kickstarter. It's live now. Have a look at it, and if you have any questions about the game, I'm sure the creator will be happy to answer them, or have a look at the rulebook. They have that available on their website as well.